On today's episode of the Views from Section 400 podcast, we have some reactions to Black Friday in the NFL. Plenty of coaches fired, plenty of coaches available. Where will they land? I'm sure we'll get some all wrong. We have the college football playoff semis starting tonight with Penn State and Notre Dame. Going to predict those, see if we can find a champion. Winners and losers of the week, as always, followed by our NFL wildcard picks. And we finish it all off with everyone's favorite segment, at least my favorite segment, the Michael of the Week. It's going to be a fun show. Stay tuned.
16, turn me up.
And just like that, we're back. Views from Section 400. Matt, Jack, and Brian bringing you along for the action-packed midweek episode. I got a little extra energy because the Villanova Wildcats just knocked off Dan Hurley and the stinking UConn Huskies. I know UConn's having a down year, but holy smokes, the Villanova Wildcats are back. Not saying Kyle Neptune's off the hook, but they're back. I'm excited. I know you guys just saw that. I know you guys got a good basketball team in Auburn, but be happy for me, man. The Villanova Wildcats have been a dumpster fire like your NFL teams for the last 2+ years.
Man, I was gonna be happy for you until you had to bring my football team into this. No, look, if we get good college basketball teams and shitty football teams, and you get a good football team, you get shitty college basketball teams. I don't have any. No, I was with you. I was gonna be happy for you, but not anymore.
It all evens out.
Dude. I know.
And it needs to even out. You're not allowed to have both.
I have. Well, look, we're getting close to having both because, like I said, the Nova Wildcats just knocked the number 9 team UConn Huskies off.
Pump the brakes here.
What am I pumping the brakes on?
It's a big win. It's a big win, but they are unranked, and they're going to continue to be unranked for a little bit here.
Okay, so let's jump through it. They had a tough start. Which, by the way, Columbia they lost to. Columbia's best start in 50 years this year. 50 years. So let's not act like Columbia is horrible. They got a shot to win the Ivy League. Anyway,
at best, that'll be a quad 2
loss. And you know all
loss.
Well how those Ivy League schools are.
At best, March. That'll be a quad 2 loss.
You should know damn well how they are.
Yeah, they're good when Chad Baker-Mazara gets ejected in the first couple minutes of the game.
I don't need to remind Brian about Ivy League basketball. But, look, they knocked off, at the time, 13th ranked Cincinnati, and they just beat a top 10 team. I don't know how they're not in the conversation. You have them as your first or last 4 in. They're at the top of the Big East. They're
Big
right
East
there.
Is terrible.
Marquette's next.
The Big East is not very good.
I don't think.
And that Cincinnati win is a quad 2 win. Cincinnati's falling off the cliff.
I know, but that's why. Again, if you listen, I said at the time.
I caught it. I just needed to make sure.
Yeah, they have fallen off a cliff big time. But at the time, we're 13th, and Nova handed them their first loss, which, not for nothing. But again, nice win. We can debate all we want about should be ranked, should be not be ranked. I'm happy with the win. If they don't want to rank them, fine. Keep playing the underdog. We know how the underdogs are in Philly. The main line extension will give Villanova. It's an unbelievable win because we haven't had this in the last 2+ years. We were accustomed to excellence, royalty under Jay Wright. Neptune came in and it was poverty. So we're starting to creep out of it. Big, nice win. It is a home win. They'll probably lose by 25 when they go on the road up there to UConn. But it's a big win. It's a game you win your home games, and you got a shot come March. I just want to see the Cats back in the NCAA tournament.
This is a win you can build on. I'll give you that.
It's a win you can build on. So I wanted to start the show with that. We do have 5 straight days of football starting today with the college football playoff, Penn State, Notre Dame. We jump into all the action right after this.
The calendar is flipped to 2025, and that means one thing. The sports action is heating up, and the best place to go to get tickets to playoff football, meaningful basketball games, and maybe some baseball soon is SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the official sponsor of the Views from Section 400 podcast. Whether you're going to watch some Auburn Tigers play at Neville Arena, best team in college basketball, if you want to see the Birds probably choke in the playoffs at the Link, or maybe you want to buy some early spring training tickets for the spring, SeatGeek is the best place to go. Their one-of-a-kind platform makes finding the best deals easy. Use our code VIEWSFROM400 at checkout for $20 off your first purchase. Again, that's code VIEWSFROM400 at checkout. You get $20 off your first purchase. That's a free beer and maybe some crab fries, maybe a hot dog on us. It's a great deal. Use our code. SeatGeek, your best night ever is waiting.
We just had 5 straight days of playoff football.
Yeah, well, you can blame Brian for that.
Yeah, I can.
Because I copy and pasted this outline.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry.
Well,
can't be perfect.
Nope, we can't. And nonetheless, still 5 straight days of football, regardless of if playoff would have made it sound way better. But let's jump into it. Thanks to SeatGeek, as always, for the quick word. Views from 400. To get $20 off your first purchase, make sure you check it out over there. All right, we just had a rock start to the open, to the cold open, whatever you want to call it. Now we jump into some NFL talk. Head coaching vacancies. The boys are going to go around the horn and see where we think guys are going to coach next year. We start off with the firing of Doug Peterson. Jaguars now have an open position. New regime seemingly in Jacksonville. Jack, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, of course, we're starting off with the Jaguars and Doug Peterson. But look, I'm happy that he's out the door. I like Doug Peterson. Good guy. Just wasn't working out for us in Jacksonville. Wasn't working out with Trevor, the offense. The defense, really nothing was working out. So I want Ben Johnson. I'm pretty sure we're going to get Ben Johnson. I don't know why he wouldn't want to come to Jacksonville. Look, it's in Florida. You don't got to pay the taxes down there. You got Trevor Lawrence. You got Brian Thomas Jr. You got a tandem of running backs, as Brian pointed out on our last pod. The next Sonic and Knuckles. This is Lions 2.0. Build it up over here. Come score 40 points a game. Trevor Lawrence, much better than Jared Goff. I can't wait to see that happen.
Yeah, and quite possibly Brian listed the Jaguars first because maybe that's the most appealing job when you have the likes of the Raiders out there, the Patriots, Saints, Bears, and maybe the Jets is appealing. I don't know. I guess we'll see how their player personnel shakes up. But, are the Jaguars the most appealing job for these head coaching candidates?
They definitely are. And good call, Brian, putting them first for that reason.
Well, they're not. And I put them first because I've been waiting all day to tell you this sentence. Ben Johnson is going to go to coach Caleb Williams with Chicago, and you're going to end up with Kellen Moore as your head coach next season.
Inner division? You really think that's going to happen? I don't think so. I don't think he would do that to Detroit and Lions faithful.
I think if the Chicago Bears hand him a bunch of money in a wheelbarrow, he doesn't give a shit about Detroit, and he goes to Chicago.
I think that the Bears are easily the second most desirable job after the Jaguars. But why go to the Bears and not the Jaguars? I still don't understand why would you pick Chicago and not Jacksonville?
The Bears
you talk about Jacksonville like it's Miami.
It's fucking 200, 300 miles from it, bro.
I've been we're not going to shit on Jacksonville. I'll talk
you really
about
want to compare it to Chicago, my brother?
I thought you were going to say Philly, and I was going to laugh. Chicago, I think, is just as appealing, maybe a little bit more appealing, just because of the likes of Caleb Williams, and you have more to grow off of, I think, with him over Trevor Lawrence, right? Like, you can say the growth aspect for Caleb Williams is a lot higher than Trevor Lawrence. You already know what Trevor Lawrence is. Brian has his opinions. You have your opinions, but we know what he is.
I don't think we do yet. Yeah, I really don't. I think
how long are you going to live this lie?
Look, I don't think that we've seen him. I don't think we've seen him at his maximum potential yet.
We know what the guy is. He's been around for ages.
He's had 3 real seasons in the NFL.
That's a lot of seasons.
A pretty big sample size.
Look, and I think he's done fine with those 3 seasons.
He's earned himself a max contract.
He beat Brandon Staley in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, he also had to come back from like 28 points down to do it. So I don't want to hear it, Brian.
I hate when people use this term, but the Chargers lost that game. The Jaguars did not win that game.
Cool. It happens all the time. Look, It takes some losing on their part, sure. It also takes a whole lot of winning on our part. Don't take away Trevor Lawrence's 4 touchdowns in that comeback effort.
If you're going to take away the fact Daniel Jones won a playoff game, I have no problem taking away the fact Trevor Lawrence beat Brandon Staley.
Look, I'll give Daniel Jones his playoff game. Look where he is now. Like that's not the only thing that you can measure his success off of.
Yeah, you can measure it off stats, and Trevor and Daniel Jones have like the same stats through their first 3 seasons.
Why
And
does
tell
it
me,
always have?
tell me again where Daniel Jones is sitting right now.
Where Trevor will be soon, and that is what I've continued to try to tell you for the year plus we've done this.
It doesn't matter how we dive into either Jaguar talk or Giant talk. It somehow comes back to Trevor Lawrence versus Daniel Jones.
Yeah, because
And I
Brian
think
has
you
this
guys need a new
obsession.
basis to go off of. You're gonna
Brian
need a
has
new
this
basis to go.
obsession with comparing the two.
Like
I just need him to admit Trevor Lawrence is bad. Once he admits those words, we'll stop having this debate.
Ain't
I
happening,
think
brother.
Trevor Lawrence is better than Daniel Jones, but Trevor Lawrence is an average at best quarterback. I think both can be true. Now, saying horrible or bad, I'm not going to go there with Trevor Lawrence, but I think he's an average at best quarterback. I think the decision making is a huge question mark. I think just overall game. I don't know how to explain it. He's not an aesthetically pleasing quarterback to watch, if that makes sense. And that is huge in the NFL.
See, he's not in the top
Fair.
20, and that would qualify him as bad.
There's
I
not
put him at
there's
average.
not a shot that you
probably
can
hovers-
maybe 20
he probably
quarterbacks
hover-
better than Trevor
He
Lawrence.
probably
Do it right
hovers around 17 to 18. Brian, please go.
Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert. I got to go through my divisions here. I'm sorry.
Kyler
Jaden
Murray.
Daniels, Kyler Murray.
How are you gonna look at what Kyler Murray did this year and tell me he's not
Kyler
better
Murray
than
is better than Trevor Lawrence.
On
Brock
what
Purdy,
basis?
Geno
On what
Smith?
basis?
Geno Smith, Matt Stafford.
Sam Darnold.
That's 10. Sam Darnold, 11. Bo Nix, that's
Jared
12.
Goff.
Bro, you're
Jared
fucking,
Goff, that's
no,
13.
No.
Um,
You're lying to
Jordan
yourself.
Love, that's
let him go.
14.
Jack, let him go.
Jordan Love is 14.
Aaron Rodgers.
I'll hold off on Rodgers for now.
Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield is 15.
Tua.
Tua, when healthy, is 16.
CJ Stroud.
I already named Stroud, I think.
Jaden Daniels.
I named Daniels. Okay, I did the
Dak
East.
Prescott.
Do you
when
really
healthy?
think our
Dak
listeners
Prescott when
want to
I did the
healthy?
East,
listen
the
to
North.
this blasphemy?
I
Dak
did the
Prescott when
West.
healthy.
I know I'm kind of struggling to get other ones, but that's 17 better. That's more than half the league.
But you had to say half of them on a condition. Like, no. Brian,
What
no.
condition? I said
Dak
Tua when he's
Prescott
healthy.
Pure comedy for me.
Yeah, you're not getting any more out of me for this. This is just pure, mental illness.
I'll throw Drake May in there too.
Caleb Williams or Trevor Lawrence?
Caleb Williams.
The unproven guy over the proven guy.
Oh, I didn't even say Lamar. There's a gimme.
There is a gimme.
That's 18.
All right. Well, I don't know how we got this far down the rabbit hole. It always starts with Daniel Jones for Trevor Lawrence, but Ben Johnson is who Jack thinks the Jaguars are getting. Brian, do you have a possible guess on who they might be? It seems like you're not so.
Oh, I said Kellen Moore.
That's right, you did. And it's interesting you bring Kellen Moore up because in a press conference today, he was asked about potentially moving on from the Philadelphia Eagles and what he'll bring from his time with Philadelphia to the new team. And, it wasn't like my focus is a Super Bowl. My focus is to be with the team. And, the offseason's the offseason. We're trying to win a Super Bowl. He was very outgoing about I appreciate my time here. Nick has been great. I love the way how Nick coaches, this, that, and the third. And it just seemed like he was very open about these, interviews he's receiving or about to go on to go be a head coach. So he was not kind of shying away from it. And it seems like Kellen Moore, if offered a position, will go be a head coach next year.
Yeah, well, I think Kellen Moore's been wanting to be a head coach for the past 3 years at least now. I'm fairly positive when the Jags got rid of Urban Meyer and we're going through the Doug Peterson hire, we were looking at Kellen Moore way back when, before he was with the Chargers, before he was with your Eagles, when he was the OC of the Cowboys when they were the number one offense in the league. That's when we were looking at him. So that's not a surprise to me. I don't know how I feel about Kellen Moore. I remember being somewhat open to him back in the Doug Peterson era, but yeah, still hoping for Ben. And if it's not Ben, I don't know if I would want Kellen Moore as my number one guy. I think I might look to a Joe Brady or even a Josh McCown next.
Eagles
Yeah,
legend.
definitely Eagles legend. I don't know.
McCown?
Yeah.
Why do I remember him as a Brown?
Oh, he was everywhere, but
Dude,
he
he
was
was
an
on
Eagle.
like 18 teams.
No, I know, but like, do people remember him as an Eagle?
Didn't
No,
he
that
play
was
in a
a
playoff
joke.
game as an Eagle?
Uh,
I think he came in at some point.
I don't. He was very old. He was extremely old with his time on the Eagles. But let's try and get back on track here.
Yeah,
And
we're 3-1.
a guy who very well could be a loser of the week at Antonio Pierce. Set his outlook on the Raiders as he's going to be there next year. A day later, bang, fired. Who's going to coach the Raiders next?
Joe Brady, just because Tom Brady.
Oh, well, I didn't really think of that reason, but I did have Joe Brady as my next head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen enough from Joe Brady other than Josh Allen seems to want him to stay in Buffalo as the offensive coordinator. It's interesting. Didn't Joe Brady kind of get thrown into the fire mid-year? They mixed up the play calling duties mid-year, so I think that gives him a lot of extra brownie points for teams trying to look for a head coach as a guy who can adapt that quickly.
Yeah,
I guess Joe Brady. I feel like the Raiders f a lot of things up, so I could see them maybe fumbling this hiring.
Yeah, well, I think this is probably one of like the least desirable jobs on this list. So I feel like they might just get left over with some scraps here.
Yeah, definitely. Is the Patriots job desirable?
yeah.
Yes, you got Drake May, and look, you want to talk about this, that, and the third, but the quarterback is the most important thing, and you got a young quarterback, Drake May, who looks promising, in my opinion, more promising than Caleb Williams. But yeah, I think that the Patriots job is very, very attractive, and I think Mike Vrabel is just destined to take it.
Well, that's
Same.
how I was going to kind of wrap that first part up. Was going to say is Mike Vrabel the guy? I think Robert Kraft definitely wants Vrabel there. Vrabel wants to be a head coach. Why not go back to New England? You were there as a player. Go be the head coach of the football team. That one seems, out of all the jobs, the most likely to be a lock. Am I wrong by saying that?
No,
No, not at all. I think that's a very fair statement.
I'm completely terrified of Vrabel going there, and then they somehow find a way to wheel and deal and fleece the Browns out of their pick, end up with Travis Hunter and Drake May, and Travis Hunter terrorize the NFL for a decade.
Yeah, I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit. I don't need to think about that nonsense.
There's a lot of hypotheticals there.
That's a lot that could go wrong for the rest of the NFL, but Brian just put it out into the world. We have a fall guy now. A job where, what was it? Dennis Allen got fired. They brought in an interim guy who everybody knew wasn't going to be the guy. Uh, the Saints is always a desirable job. You play in an easy division. You have a good fan base. You always seem to have somewhat of a strong-ish team. I mean, they were the best team in the NFL through 2 weeks this year. Who the hell's going to coach the Saints next year?
I have a strong feeling about this.
Let's hear it.
So when you think of the Falcons, you think of a very mediocrely bad franchise. And when you think of the Steelers lately, you think of a very consistently decent but mediocre franchise. When you put those two together, you get the Saints. And who coached those two teams most recently? Mr. Arthur Smith.
Wow.
Just, we don't know if I mean, we think Arthur Smith is bad, but at the same time, he keeps getting jobs in the NFL, so maybe he's good. And that's kind of what the Saints have been for the post Sean Payton years. It's It's like we don't know if they always get talked about like they might be good, but they normally end up being bad.
Yeah, well, I would be surprised by that only because it was just what 2 years ago, 3 years ago when I think just 2 years ago now when Arthur Smith was the head coach of the division rival Falcons. So I'd be surprised if the Saints take him on. Um, but I also wouldn't. Maybe there's a little bit of revenge factor there for Arthur Smith to get back at the Falcons. But I don't hate that, but I think Brian Flores would be a fantastic hire for the Saints. When I think about the Saints, I always think of like a defense, a hard hitting defensive team. That's what Brian Flores brings. He brings pressure. I think that the city of New Orleans would absolutely love that man, Brian Flores. So that's what I think. And I hope that happens too. I think he would be a great fit for New Orleans.
Yeah, I don't hate Brian Flores down there in New Orleans. I think that's a really good fit for him. We jump onto a job that we said is somewhat desirable with a young Caleb Williams. Chicago Bears. Brian, you're sold on Ben Johnson going there in division. Um, why not Cliff Kingsbury? This seems like a job where maybe they could offer him. The Bears kind of fuck it up a little bit. They like what he maybe did with Kyler Murray in those early years with Arizona. See some resemblance with Caleb Williams being an athletic, mobile quarterback. Maybe they pair them two up and try and, rejuice that Cliff Kingsbury unstoppable offense that we saw almost a decade ago.
I think Cliff likes being in Washington, at least for now. I don't know if he makes the leap yet. Maybe he waits for like year 3 of Jaden Daniels. I just love the Ben Johnson fit. And if Ben Johnson does end up going to Chicago, Caleb Williams will not only be, oh my God, Caleb Williams will not only become the first Bear to ever throw for 4,000 yards, he will completely surpass that and be the first Bear to ever throw for 5,000.
Yeah, you're pretty sold on this happening.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
I
happening.
think I think if that were to happen, that's a fair take. But I just still don't think that Ben Johnson is going to go in the division, go play for the rival Chicago or coach the Chicago team. When his Detroit upbringing is just right there around the corner. Find that hard to believe. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I see the Bears fucking this up again, like they always do. I don't want to say that they're going to go as far as to bring along someone like Rex Ryan, who would just be an absolute disaster. But I do think that they bring along Cliff Kingsbury or like a Ron Rivera, somebody who's been a head coach before, wants another shot, and just isn't going to do anything with the opportunity.
The good news for them is there are no Matts on the market right now because their last 2 head coaches have been mediocre Matts. They can't fuck that up.
Is Matt Nagy looking for another head coaching job?
There's no way they bring him back. There were reports that
Well,
the Saints
not
were going to
not
interview him.
that they would, but I would think that Matt Nagy's still looking for other opportunities.
He's going on interviews.
Yeah.
Whether he gets hired or not, I guess that's a completely different story. But he's putting himself out there.
I think he should just hide in Kansas City. Get some rings while Mahomes is there and just have a good, fun
Yeah,
career.
yeah. I don't hate that. An interesting job here. I'd say it's somewhat desirable. Again, depending on player personnel, the New York Jets, they need a lot. They need a lot of help. They almost need a new culture. Everybody's convinced, including Rex Ryan, that Rex Ryan's going to be the next head coach. I don't know. The Jets are another team that can just fumble hirings and decision making. I have no idea where they're going to go with this, but this seems like another bad decision incoming.
Yeah, they should hire Rex Ryan. I mean, they've been
Why?
to 4 AFC championships ever, and he went to 2 of them.
Yeah, it was a different time. I thought it was a little bit of fairy tale talk when he was talking about he's going to fully control Aaron Rodgers and it's not going to be a training camp and this, that, and the third. I don't know that he's going to have that much control. And if he tries to have that much control, there's going to be a lot of drama coming out of the New York Jets organization, which is the last thing they need
It'd
going
be nothing
into.
new though. Can
It'd
it
be
really get
nothing.
worse?
Yeah, probably could if your star quarterback Aaron Rodgers, who maybe decides to come back, or maybe they hire Rex Ryan and Rodgers retires because of that decision. We don't know.
Yeah.
But there's, it could get a lot worse in New York. As rock bottom as it feels for the Jets, it could definitely get worse.
Yeah, there's no doubt. You make the wrong call on the hire, it could definitely get worse. I don't know why. I think they're going to go back to the Jets. Are going to go back to the well, hire a top tier defensive coordinator out of the NFC like they did with Saleh. And if they can get Aaron Glenn to be their next head coach, he's been doing a good job with the Lions. And I saw that he's been going on or that teams have been requesting to interview him. I don't know if this would be a great spot for him, but the Jets certainly need someone. Maybe they need, I don't know. Do you guys think they need an offensive-minded coach, a defensive-minded coach? I mean, they have Aaron Rodgers, who's basically playing LeBron ball right now. What do you guys think?
I am all in on the Jets getting an offensive guy, a good offensive guy. Like Ben Johnson would be sick on the Jets. Are they going to get him? I don't know. Maybe. New York always has a play up their sleeve, but that's a guy that I could see going to the Jets. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Bry?
Well, I'm just stuck on the if you can get me Glenn. Get myself Aaron Glenn. Why not?
Why are you stuck on that? Did you make a joke there or something?
No, I want to see him be a head coach.
I guess.
That convinced me.
The lines look good all around. Is it because of Dan Campbell? Is it because of these coordinators? Probably a little bit of both. What happens when you break a piece off and put them elsewhere? We're going to find out. But that's the head coaching carousel. We went over who we thought the desirable jobs were, some of the undesirable jobs, and there's a lot of candidates out there. So we'll see what happens. I'd assume a lot of these guys are going to start falling off the board pretty quickly because you kind of want to, be set up for next year and you don't want this to drag out.
Yeah, well, the Giants will drag it. Giants are dragging it out without knowing they're dragging it out. So I applaud all these teams for firing their head coaches in the offseason.
There you go. Why don't we jump on to the biggest game tonight and another big game tomorrow night? It's the college football semi-finals. Is this how we expected the Final Four to play out, gentlemen?
Thank you for calling us gentlemen. That was very cordial of you.
You are. Well, it's a prestigious time of college football.
Look, I think that looking at the four teams that are here right now, at certain points in the season, all four of these teams being here would sort of surprise you. Preseason, though, I think the only one that shocks me is Notre Dame. Penn State, Texas, Ohio State, they looked like good teams coming into the year, and they played well for the most part throughout the whole year. Notre Dame's the only one that I'm surprised that they're here. But after seeing what they've done in their first two playoff games, they deserve every right to be here.
Yeah, Notre Dame, I think, surprises a lot of people because of that bad Northern Illinois loss.
Definitely.
But they were always a good team, and they cleaned it up and came on strong at the end of the year. So I'm not too concerned or surprised by them. I'm a little surprised by Penn State because if they didn't have the absolute cakewalk to this spot, I don't think they would be here. But they had the cakewalk in the two, SMU Boise State games, and look, they have looked dynamite. And now come into this game as an underdog. I think that says something.
I really like Penn State, and it hurts me that I really like Penn State. I think they're a really good team, and they lost two one-possession games to two really good teams. That Oregon should have gotten the draw that Penn State got in this playoff, and we should have seen Penn State play Ohio State in the last round. Probably. But we might get it in the championship instead.
We very well might.
Also, the colors of these teams, very aesthetically pleasing Final Four here. On the 4K cameras, too, on ABC.
Yeah, I could see
What
that.
makes you say that?
Well, you
I
get
think
the gold Notre Dame helmets with the white Penn State helmets. That's going to be a good
Yeah, you
one.
like that? That gets you going?
Yes, it does. We've been over this.
Brian's a big aesthetics guy when it comes to watching sports.
I'll be taking the
Uh,
over 44.5 just because it's going to look great. And the players are
where
going to be faster.
where it's gonna hurt you, and I don't know where this game is played, but isn't the Penn State game the Orange Bowl? So is that going to be played outside and not in a dome?
Yeah, but we could keep talking about Florida. It's Florida. It'll be nice.
I don't know,
Damn right, it's
man.
nice.
Not in the dome. Not in the dome. I feel like
I
throws
think
everything
the
off.
only reason, if the other game was the Orange Bowl, but you got the traditional unis for this one, I like it being played outside. Make it completely traditional.
Okay, fair enough. As much as a cakewalk it was, I have no idea. Penn State's looked really strong. I want to take their money line because it's plus money, and why not take the value? I think dude, I don't know. Jack, you seem like you're on Notre Dame here, and Brian's on Penn State.
I don't know if I'm necessarily on Notre Dame. I think that they've handled their business. I think Penn State's handled their business. Uh, I'm gonna go with Penn State in this one too.
Oh
Really?
shit.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Penn State in this one, and then I think they lose the championship. The
Speaking of,
Nittanies get to the Natty,
well,
but
speaking of the championship, they have to play somebody. Nittany's in the Natty. You like that one?
yeah,
RIP.
I like that one. I like that one.
When they're Nittany's in the Natty winning it for Nittany. RIP Mace's dog.
Well, obviously, speaking of the championship, they have to play somebody. It's Ohio State. It's Texas. Texas has looked good. Ohio State's looked better. I think I like Ohio State, and maybe we do see a Big Ten showdown in that championship game.
I mean, after seeing Ohio State rout Oregon, it's really tough not to pick them here. I'm gonna be on Texas, but it's really hard not to pick the Buckeyes to win this whole damn thing after what they did to an undefeated Oregon team.
Yeah, that's why I think I'm going with Texas to not only cover but win, just because they're coming off such a not a stinker because that was a crazy game that they won, but a game they should have won handedly and barely won. And Ohio State has all the vibes right now. So it just feels like when that is kind of the thing, the public's going to be on Ohio State. When Ewers, maybe he pulls up his draft stock with a big performance.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of the Longhorns defense well enough, but do they have someone that can stop Jeremiah Smith? Because I doubt they do.
I think their secondary is the strength of their defense. But I don't know if anybody in the country has somebody that could stop Jeremiah Smith.
That's what I'm saying.
We'll see if Naeem Offer can next year. That'll be a hell of a matchup between Oregon and Ohio State again.
You know what? It's going to be Notre Dame versus Ohio State. Just like a classic from the 70s, 80s, 90s, teams that have been there. Like, it just feels like one of those legacy championship game. Don't bet against the Catholics. I got to rock with Notre Dame. And Ohio
Yeah.
State's just been unbeatable. I don't think Texas got a shot.
I would have to go back and look at the past winners and grab some stats on this, but that Michigan win last year, was that the first like northern team that's won a championship in a while?
Yeah, before Ohio State probably.
Oh, excuse, dude. I'm still stuck in the BCS days, man. I'm thinking of all the Alabamas and Auburns and Florida State, all those wins.
Yeah,
I forgot the
even
Buckeyes.
the playoff, like it was always Alabama or Georgia pretty much.
Yeah,
Well,
but other than, would you say, Brian, Ohio State? The only other one would be Clemson, but they're obviously still pretty
They're
south.
South, yeah.
that's South
I think they
Carolina.
qualify as South.
No, I know. I'm just saying, but that would be like the only other most northern team.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean this, and then this year, you know, you get the Longhorns get cut. You got the Buckeyes, you got Notre Dame, you got Penn State. You got, I mean, any way you cut it, you're going to get a good little rivalry in that section of our country.
You definitely are, and the North is making a comeback. The North is making a comeback.
Yeah, so since 2000, the only Northern teams to win it are Ohio State and Michigan.
Since 2000.
Yeah, I'll go really quick here. Michigan, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State, Florida State, Alabama, Auburn, Alabama, Florida, LSU, Florida, Texas, USC, the one in California, which I think kind of counts as South.
Yeah, it's Southern California. Yes.
And then LSU, Ohio State, Miami, Oklahoma.
Wow.
It just means more.
Just means more.
Just
So
means more.
So the entire southern half of the country is going to be rooting for Texas.
Yeah, possibly. But all I have to wrap it up is, like I said, I think Notre Dame, Ohio State, that's my championship game.
I'll go Penn State, Texas, just to be different.
Well, I'm also going Penn State, Texas.
Penn State, Ohio State. All right, we could have 3 different ones.
There we go. Wrap it up. It all starts tonight with Penn State and Notre Dame. That'll be a fun one. I can't wait to tune in there. Why don't we jump into our favorite segment of the week, the winners and the losers. I know it's always a huge curveball of who has what has what. We always kick it off with the winners around the horn. Brian, why don't you kick us off this week? Who is your winner of the week?
My winner of the week is patterns. So, the Baltimore Ravens have won the Super Bowl every 12 years since 2001. Well, technically 2 times. But in 2001, they won 34-7 with a 28-year-old quarterback named Trent Dilfer. In 2013, they also scored 34 points, winning 34-31 with a 28-year-old quarterback named Joe Flacco. This season, they're going to score 34 points and win the Super Bowl with a 28-year-old quarterback named Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, you know what, Brian? I'm normally not with you on those historical stats, but I'm with you on this one, considering the fact that I have the Ravens pegged as the Super Bowl winners this year and got some money on it. So I hope that's the case.
Yeah, well, I might break your brain here with this second pattern.
There's a second pattern?
The Green Bay Packers won the Super Bowl in 1997 and 2011, 14 years apart. We are now in 2025, 14 years after 2011. In 2011, the Green Bay Packers opened the season against Philadelphia, finished the season at home against the Bears, and then beat Philadelphia in the wild card round to go on and win the Super Bowl.
I think that's Brian just trying to get me irritated. Toyota-thon's over, man. You can't have every single fucking gimmick.
I'm just saying, put in your Packers versus Ravens Super Bowl bets now.
You cannot get me to buy in on the Packers. There's 0%.
It was prime Aaron Rodgers versus washed up Mike Vick. This is a completely different game that is going down on Sunday, and I will leave it at that. I'm not getting into this whole thing.
Was that Chip Kelly's offense?
It might have been Andy Reid still.
I think it was still Reid, yeah.
Because that was 2011 and Reid was gone in 2012.
Gotcha.
They made the playoffs, and that next year they went 4-12, and then Reid left. But either way,
I think the Ravens pattern has a lot more going for it than that Packers pattern.
Definitely.
I really hope so. Jack, why don't you kick us off or keep us rolling, I should say, with your winner of the week?
It's gonna be our boy Bruce Pearl. Shout out Big BP. Auburn's winningest head coach in basketball history. Just got his 214th win. I am just so happy to have Bruce Pearl as my head basketball coach. There are a lot of great coaches out there. I could not be happier with him. But yeah, they were showing graphics during the game. We just won in Texas the other night. He basically has done all of the success that he's had in his 10 years with Auburn is the same success that Auburn's program has had in the past 100 years. I mean, this man is seriously the real deal. He is the best coach that we've ever had, hands down.
108 years before Bruce Pearl, they made it to 8 NCAA tournaments. With Bruce Pearl in 10 years, they've made it to 5, will be 6, and they're only Final Four.
Yeah, I was going to say Auburn basketball was worse than a dumpster fire before Bruce Pearl. I mean, they were just the bottom feeders of the SEC for however many years, 108 years, so he could call it. But I was looking at it, and I didn't even realize I knew he was at a big school, and I forgot. I totally forgot he coached at Tennessee for almost 5 or so years, and that was really the team, the program, the university he was going to be with. He said long term.
Yeah.
I ask you guys as Auburn superfans, I didn't look it up. Why did Bruce Pearl jump ship, or did he get fired? I don't know the story. I'm hoping maybe you or Brian can help me out.
Yeah.
So
there's a scandal. That's what I can tell you. Brian can get deeper into the facts.
There are a couple of reasons for it. One of them was he thought NIL existed a couple decades before NIL existed.
And he's not the only one who ever thought that.
Yeah, he's a man of morals, so he came out and told the university, and the university did not look fondly upon him for that. And now they're stuck with Rick Barnes, who gets bounced in the first round every year.
Yeah, they definitely are. And I didn't know that. I thought maybe he left. But yeah, look, blessing in disguise for you Auburn fans, because he probably would have been at Tennessee still to this day since 05 or whenever it was that he started there. So blessing in disguise, like I said, for the Auburn fans, and still no national championship, but a huge improvement.
They'll get an Natty this year.
Brian, why would you say that out loud?
They definitely,
because I believe it.
They definitely got a good shot.
I do too. You can't say it though. Those are the rules.
They definitely, if there's
According
a year,
to who?
Out of all the Bruce Pearl years, this is the year where it feels like they got to get it done. But I always hold true to what I say. And Auburn on the road can be dicey. And I count, Ryan and I have debated this, I count March Madness games more of road games than home games.
Yeah.
I will not be sold until March, and I'll leave it at that.
The difference is this year they won in Houston and they've won in Texas, and they already have 7 quad 1 wins. They won the Maui Invitational.
Yeah,
they've proven it this year.
We're looking really good on neutral courts.
This year is different for now, and I'll leave it at that. My winner of the week actually came on Monday night, and it's North Dakota State Bison winning the FCS title again. Their 10th title in the last 14 years. 10 for 14. That is an unbelievable run that nobody ever sees. I kind of had a question associated. What other dynasty has come close to that? 10 titles in 14 years. I first think of the Patriots. I guess, you maybe have to go back to the 40s, 50s, 60s to see some huge dynamite runs. I mean, 10 titles in 14 years in the modern era. I don't care. It's FCS. That is pure dominance.
Yeah. Look, the Patriots got like 6 in 20 years. Like it wasn't 10 and 14. Like 10 and 14 is nuts.
Nuts.
I don't know what could come close to that.
Well, I was going to give you the 20 and early 30 Yankees, but you said modern era. So,
well, that's what I'm saying. You have to turn back the clock and go all the way back to those early ages.
Yeah, when there were 5 teams in the league.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to look at. I mean, we're seeing prehistoric shit almost. But yeah, 10 titles in 14 years. And again, the FCS, I know, Brian, you can say what you want and have your thoughts about it, but it's become a lot more competitive as the years have gone on. There's been a lot more, would you call it brand awareness, conference league awareness of the FCS from what it was 10, 15 years ago to what it is now. A lot more people know and tune into it. So yeah, just NDSU, North Dakota State, 10 titles in the last 14 years. Prop to them. Definitely my winner of the week. And they switched up coaches as well. This is a new guy who just won a fucking title. So they're switching coaches around and still winning. I don't know what's in the water up there in Fargo, North Dakota, but I would definitely love to take a sip. But yeah, that's a wild, wild, wild run for them. We now jump into the sad part, the loser of the week. We started with Brian Jack. I'll kick it off to you. You're usually red hot with the losers of the week. What do you got for us?
This one is piping hot. My loser of the week is going to be Skip Bayless.
Let's go.
We're going to get into this.
We don't have to get into it too deep, Brian. All I want to, I didn't say anybody else's name. All I said was Skip Bayless because, I don't know if you guys
know what you're doing.
I don't know if you guys saw this, but apparently, allegedly, Skip Bayless offered a co-host, Joy Taylor of the Undisputed Show, $1.5 million to sleep with her, and she said no.
So before we get caught with a lawsuit here, it wasn't Joy Taylor, it was his hairdresser. Joy Taylor slept with the network exec.
Oh, excuse me.
And Emmanuel Acho.
So many Diddy freak-offs happening left and right over at ESPN. I have no idea what's straight anymore.
Fox Sports, ESPN, don't sue us either. But yeah, no, that lawsuit was crazy. There was also allegedly a person that was just there on the payroll to give cocaine to Skip Bayless and the rest of the hosts. It's a crazy document.
Yeah, it definitely.
Look, all I'm saying is Skip Bayless is going to be my loser. He tried paying $1.5 million for it and couldn't get it.
Usually money talks. In this case, it didn't.
He's pretty wrinkly, isn't he? He's an old man.
Yeah, he definitely is. But wild one to start off the losers of the week there. Brian, you got something to top that?
No, but I hope this is close. It's going to be the haters. You guys remember LeVar Ball? Well, the Big Baller brand is up right now.
Yeah.
LaMelo Ball is dropping 30 a night. He's dropping mixtape highlights on Twitter. Lonzo is back. He's not injured anymore. He's playing well. And LiAngelo just released a hit rap song called Tweaker. Might swerve around that corner. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah, Jack caught me humming it on the pre-pod here tonight. It's catchy, man. It's catchy. It's definitely a banger. It's kind of taken the whole music rap scene by storm right now. It helps that a lot of pro athletes, specifically NBA guys, are blasting it in the locker room. We saw it in the Lions locker room as well, but that definitely helps boost it up. But yeah, I mean, the Ball brand is up, man. LeVar Ball is a master genius. He is getting it done with his brand, with his boys. And yeah, I mean, it's wild stuff. But when we thought he was down and out, LiAngelo finds a way to stay relevant.
You could say the least successful Ball brother right now is Lil Dicky Ball. And that was not how it looked like in 2016.
I don't even know who that is.
I do remember that commercial.
Yeah, they had Lil Dicky pose as the fourth.
You threw me off with the ball. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's weird.
A weird winners and losers segment.
It's a weird winners and losers segment. I'll wrap us up here, and not as crazy as yours. Not that Brian's was crazy. Jack's definitely a little off the rails, but we love it. Up at 400. Mine's going to be, I could have went a couple different directions here because the guys, NFL guys this week achieved some of these incentives. But an interesting one I saw, Cooper Rush is my loser of the week, as he needed to play 55% of the team's offensive snaps to get $250K. And as a backup quarterback, that's a nice little bonus to get in the back of the end of the season. Not only did he not get 55%, they benched him in the final game of the regular season. So it's not like he played and got the 52%. No, they said, you're probably going to hit this 55, so let's bench you. Jerry Jones came out and said that he had no idea that that incentive existed, and the incentive wasn't the reason Trey Lance ended up starting. But Cooper Rush gets snubbed, and, a $250K bonus would have been nice, again, like I said, for a backup quarterback.
Yeah, that's just that. Look, you don't know who's the one who didn't want. You don't know what happened there, right? Was it the coach? Was it or Jerry Jones saying, "I don't want this guy to get his money"? Did somebody want to see Trey Lance play? I don't know exactly what it is, but either way, after that happens, Cooper Rush has been. I won't say great, but he has been serviceable for the Cowboys and made them more competitive and easier to watch than some of these other teams who have lost their starting quarterbacks. So, I think if you're Jerry Jones, pay this man $250. It's not $250,000 to drop in the bucket for you. Yeah, I think it would do a lot, especially with the way Jerry Jones is painted in the media and the way that he's been lately, or I shouldn't say lately, for the past, I don't know, half decade. Pay this man some money. Build some goodwill with some fans.
Yeah, relatively, that is pretty lately for his life. But
Yeah,
I kind of believe him when I say when he says he didn't know it existed.
yeah. Look, there's a chance that's true, but at the same time, now that you're aware of it, pay the man.
Yeah,
Earn some goodwill. Earn some goodwill with your fans.
Yeah, it's just a weird move. Like, again, whether you knew or didn't know, you know, it doesn't do you any favors. It makes it look like that's exactly why you benched him. And you can say whatever you want till you're blue in the face, but that's not gonna, change what people think. That's not gonna change people's outlook. And just a weird way for the Cowboys to end the season after kind of all they've been through. They also denied the Bears' request to interview Mike McCarthy, so I thought that was pretty funny as well. And just kind of wrap up my loser of the week here. I could have won a couple different ways. Like I said, Kyler Murray missed out on 750K. He did play in the game on Sunday and actually kind of balled out. Needed some of those performances in the fantasy season, but
yeah, he did.
he was 28 rushing yards short and a rushing touchdown short as well from 750K. The incentive was 600 rushing yards and 6 rushing touchdowns. So 1 TD short, 28 rushing yards short. We talk about these guys who hit the incentives. Here's a couple guys who got snubbed.
Yeah, just real quick, can we as a collective, I guess it's a sports betting community, more just I think a wannabe sports betting community on Twitter, stop being big brain with all these, let's bet on this rushing total because he needs it in his contract incentive. It doesn't matter. We see this every year. No one hits him. Some people do hit him.
And look, the Mike Evans one was funny too because he needed 85 yards. His over-under was 99. He had 88 yards, so it didn't even hit.
Yeah, it's all just like I feel like these people that are recreational bettors see that kind of stuff and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna bet the over on every single one."
Jump all over it, and it's just never gonna hit.
Just be careful. Be careful.
Parlay.
Now I see I'm picking up what you're putting down. Because at first I was like, dude, that's a good market. I mean,
I see it every year, and it's like these are locks this week because
you gotta pick and choose for sure. Like you knew that they were gonna get Mike Evans to 1,000 yards on the season. Like you knew that was gonna happen. So if you want to put a bet on that, sure. But like a Kyler Murray rushing prop, Kyler Murray barely gives a shit about football. Like you really think that an extra, and he's a starting quarterback in the NFL. Dude makes 30, 40, $50 million a year. Like, you really think an extra 250, 750K is like that much to him at the end of the day? Not enough for you to spend your taxed income on.
Yeah, it's like, does he want to run out of bounds so he gets guaranteed a big contract next offseason? Or do I want to risk 5 more yards and getting clobbered for 250K?
Some mean more to others. Like a Cooper Rush, a backup quarterback fighting for an incentive. Yeah, that's something that I would bet on.
Yeah, I mean, it's still ridiculous nonetheless, like we said. But, yeah, I mean, that's the winners and losers of the week. I kind of brought us back to the sports world there at the end and kept us on track there. But we're going to dive right into the meat of the show with the NFL wild card weekend picks. We got 2 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, 1 on Monday. I believe I have my schedule right there. We kick it off with what seems to be the team that always gets the 4 o'clock Saturday slot, and that is the Houston Texans, home underdogs, +3 against the Los Angeles Chargers. Seems like the right line. I think I like the Chargers in this. What are you guys thinking?
I'll let Jack tell us why the Texans suck first.
Well, the Texans do suck. Um, I really got nothing else for you. The Chargers are a good football team. They're not a great football team, but they're well coached. They're better coached than the Texans. I believe in their quarterback way more than the Texans. And I don't think they're as banged up. I mean, the Texans have had a week to rest. They didn't need to win week 18, or they haven't really had to win in a couple weeks. But yeah, no, give me the Chargers, man. They're gonna come across from LA and win this football game. One of the only underdogs I'll pick in the first round.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Texans at home +3. We talk about them sucking every year in the AFC South sucking, but they have won 5 games in the last 7 postseasons they've been in. So they at least win that first round game before they get blown out in the divisional round. I see like a 17-13 Justin Herbert wide open Quentin Johnston down the sideline to win the game with 2 minutes left, and he drops the ball. And then he gets clobbered on a 4th down sack.
Yeah, for me, it comes down to two guys, and they're the guys not even playing, the head coaching. I like Harbaugh way better than D'Amico Ryans in this game, particularly. I think that's why the Chargers have the edge, and I think that's the difference. If this is Brandon Staley, the Texans are a touchdown favorite. You put Harbaugh in there, and bang, now they're favored on the road in a playoff game. I like the head coaching matchup. I think that's what gives the Chargers the edge. On a favorite bet, I'll go the player prop route. Who's their starting running back? Is it Dobbins?
Yeah, it'll be Dobbins.
I'll take his over rushing yards, and I'll take McConkley to go over his receiving yards as well. And I don't hate Justin Herbert to go over his passing yards either.
Yeah, I don't. I have a feeling that this will actually be somewhat of an exciting game. I have a feeling some of the other ones, well, like Ravens Steelers, we'll talk about next. I don't think that's going to be a fun game to watch, but I have a feeling that the Chargers Texans will be. There will be enough shenanigans where it's a very entertaining game to watch.
Yeah, it's Saturday at 4 o'clock. Saturdays are my fun day. I like to drink all day. And why not have a fun football game to bet on while we're slugging some Miller Lights?
It's going to have a Nickelodeon game type feel without being on Nickelodeon.
Yeah, it definitely is. And Jack brought up the Steelers and the Ravens. Look, I think the Ravens take this one, but 10 points is a lot for a playoff game. I know the Steelers have kind of been falling apart, is a nice way to put it. I like them to cover 10 points. I don't know why.
Yeah, see, that's what I thought when I first saw this line. And Pittsburgh is 3-1 all time against Baltimore in the postseason. The difference is Pittsburgh's driving down a one-way in the wrong direction right now. And a team in this matchup has never had the first player in NFL history to throw for 50 touchdowns with 4 or fewer picks. The first player in NFL history to throw for 40 touchdowns and rush for 600 yards. The first player in NFL history to throw for 4,000 yards and rush for 800 yards. And the first player in NFL history to average 8.5 yards per pass and 6 yards per carry in the same game. The Ravens have Lamar Jackson. They're going to blow out the Steelers.
Yeah, again, like I said, they win the game. I like the Steelers to cover. I don't love hearing those stats after saying that, but it's Mike Tomlin, 3-1 in the playoffs against the Ravens. I think those kind of stats matter. I like him to cover, man. That's what I got. Jack, you got a bet for us?
No, I mean, I haven't looked at the betting lines yet. Still got some time, but if you're gonna make me pick something, I'm gonna take the Ravens to cover. As Brian was saying, I'm just really down on the Steelers right now. They are definitely trending in the wrong direction. If George Pickens is like actually healthy and playing, I think the Steelers can cover this. But he's been like a facade. He was hurt, and then he's been like a facade wide receiver. One catch on 6 targets kind of thing. If that's his deal, I think he's such a huge piece of their offense. Where if he's not in there, the Ravens are just going to absolutely manhandle him.
This is the game that after your Saturday of drinking, going out to brunch, and then you watch the entertaining Chargers-Texans game, this is the game you watch for the first half, and you're like, what the fuck am I doing? And you either go to bed or you go out to the pub.
Yep.
Yeah, I just hope I don't get too hammered at brunch and go overboard with Steelers +10. But we'll wait and see what happens there.
Oh, you're betting the money line if you're going overboard at brunch.
You know what? You're not wrong. Let's jump in to a fun one at 1 o'clock. The hangover special, we could call this one. Broncos plus 8.5 on the road in Buffalo. How much more Bo Nix magic do we get?
None.
None. Give me Buffalo. Give me Josh Allen. I mean, I'm not going to say it's their year to win the whole damn thing, even though they could. But the Broncos got to give them a lot of credit. With Bo Nix coming in his rookie year, making a playoff game, it says a lot about his commitment to this team in football. It says a lot about Sean Payton and what he can do. So this isn't the Broncos' year, but they'll be back next year.
Yeah, I do like the Broncos to cover here. Sean Payton's 2-3 on the road in the postseason, and chalk it up to Breeze or Payton. I know Jack would probably chalk it up to Breeze, but that's a pretty decent record on the road. They'll keep it close, but Josh Allen is also 5-0 at home in the playoffs against quarterbacks not named Mahomes and Burrow.
Yeah. Give me the Bills, no doubt.
Yeah, my biggest takeaway here, and maybe again, I think the stats do come into the betting line. I really do, and Peyton strong road record in the playoffs, but I would assume this to maybe be a plus 10 or so spread, and that Steelers divisional game to be closer to a touchdown. I understand Steelers are slipping, but yeah, the Broncos. I don't know which way to lean. I think this is the game where, again, I go to picking a quarterback to score a touchdown, and that's going to be Josh Allen anytime.
I really like that. I think this spread is close, and I say that in air quotes if you're not watching, but it's 8.5 and not double digits just because the Bills don't really have a premier wide receiver, and the Broncos have Pat Surtain. They're not going to be able to throw that well. So Josh Allen's going to have to use his legs, and I love him to get in the end zone, maybe twice.
Yeah. Amari Cooper is questionable for this game. He's dealing with some off-the-field issues and hasn't been with the team. So who would Pat Surtain even cover? Like Mac Hollins? He's going to lock
Hollins
up.
or Coleman, because Shakir will be in the slot. I don't know if Surtain follows Shakir.
It probably would be Keon Coleman then. So, Josh, they're going to have a tough time throwing the football. But then again, that really hasn't been their MO this year. Spreading the ball or throwing the football around, chucking it deep like the Diggs days. It's been a lot of running the football, three-headed monster they have back there, and using the tight ends, using Khalil Shakir out of the slot, short passing game. And Josh Allen he's basically as close as we can get to Superman in the league. I mean, he's the closest thing we've had since Cam Newton to Superman in the league. So, he's going to win this damn football game. There's no doubt about it.
I think, though, that does kind of lean itself towards the Broncos covering if they are running the ball a bunch and going with the short passes. You kind of bleed the clock, and you just need Bo Nix to score a couple times.
Yeah, they could cover. I'm not going to be betting the Bills on a 8.5-point spread, but I'm still betting on the Bills.
Yeah. Also, before we move on, because I know, Matt, you really want to get into the next game with the Eagles taking on the Packers. But
sure.
I thought this was interesting. These teams met once before in the playoffs. The final was 10-7 Bills. The Broncos in that game were led by Gary Kubiak because John Elway got injured, and they lost off of 3 missed field goals by kicker David Treadwell. Gary Kubiak that was the AFC Championship. Gary Kubiak would have played in the Super Bowl if his kicker would have made 2 of those 3 missed field goals.
Yeah, and doesn't Kubiak have? He has a little bit of a. Was it a family coaching tree in the NFL that's like littered around right now? I think something like that.
Yeah, well, he coaches it.
He was with the Texans for forever, right?
He did, and then I thought he had like some kids that are littered around the NFL right now on some sidelines coaching games. Yeah, maybe I could be wrong. I thought I saw like a documentary thing on it. But the only other thing I was going to say, to jump back, to a couple minutes ago when we were talking about Pat Surtain, and what an effective way for the Bills to take away the best defensive players. They say, hey, we don't have a star wide receiver. So how are you going to use your best guy? We have this way that we play football. So I just thought that was pretty funny. Take away the best cornerback in football by not having a good wide receiver or an effective number 1 wide receiver for him to shut down.
Maybe they go re-sign Chase Claypool.
Maybe they do.
And
Hey,
it's Clint Kubiak, who you're thinking of.
I got you. Yeah, Claypool was poised for a big year. Injuries derailed that. But we'll jump on to the Packers and the Eagles here. It's the prime time Sunday, 425. Is this America's game of the week still? Or is
This will
that
be
only over?
Brady.
This will be Brady. Okay. I could get down with that. Brady can. Would he have PTSD up in the booth watching the Eagles beat up the Packers?
Maybe a tad.
Maybe a tad. If Brandon Graham sneaks into the booth, then maybe.
Yeah, then definitely. If Jason Kelsey somehow ESPN sends him to make an appearance.
Yeah. Um, Look, this line opened, I think, at 2.5. It got to 3.5. Now it's all the way up to Eagles 4.5. A lot of confidence coming in on the Birds. I don't know. We played them in Brazil. We beat them. I think the Eagles all around are the better football team. I like their defense over the Packers offense, and I like the Eagles offense over the Packers defense. We're at home. Home field matters so much in the playoffs, especially in Philly. It's some of the best home field advantage in the league. I'll take Saquon 2 touchdowns. He's going to have a huge day.
Yeah, of all the games that are going to be happening this wild card weekend, I would say the Link is probably the hardest place to go in and go steal a win. So I got the Eagles covering this 4.5 pretty easily. I think that that's one of the more confident spread bets that I'm going to take this week.
Don't think SoFi Stadium's going to have a great home field advantage.
You know that ain't true.
But yeah, I also like the Eagles -4.5. They are the better football team. Also, the referee crew on Sunday is led by Brad Allen, who home teams won 62.5% of the games that he refereed in the regular season. He called 103 more penalties on visitors than the home team in his games in the regular season. So good news for you, Matt.
Yeah, I will take that. And I think we have a fun fact. I know we're talking Packers Eagles, but when's the last time the same stadium hosted 2 playoff games in the same weekend? Because right,
Yeah,
don't the Rams host at
The
SoFi?
Chargers are on the road.
yeah. The
Oh,
Chargers are in Houston.
Brian always screws me up about putting these teams on the
Yeah,
notes.
I did fuck that one up. I'm sorry.
I mean,
It's
technically,
all good.
though, there is a world where
They'd have to do them on separate days. I looked
Yeah,
into this.
oh, 100%. They'd have to. And it looked like it lined up because we had Saturday and Monday.
Yeah. But yeah,
there
in the
there is
case,
a
and I know
world
where you're going. You go
where
ahead.
next round we could get the Chargers and the Rams both hosting a playoff game at SoFi.
Yeah,
Well,
so
for
maybe
that,
Houston
they'd
beat
probably
Philly.
do different days. But there's also a world, not likely, but where on the championship day, where they normally played on the same day, they would both have to host, and they definitely have to move that to separate days. That'd be a logistical nightmare.
That would be
Yeah,
wild, man.
that would
That
that would
would be
be
wild.
so incredibly unlikely, but
Yeah, it'd be
there is
tough.
a possibility.
Look, they 1000% have a plan in place for that scenario because there is a chance that it could happen. Now, that if that chance is less than 1%, it's less than 1%. But you have to have the plan in place because there is a percentage chance of it happening. I think that would be fun to watch the NFL scramble and try and make it happen. I don't know if they would. They can have quick turnarounds. I think it's as simple as have a game Saturday, have a game Sunday, and everything would work out just fine.
Yeah, you could do it in two separate days. It'd just be, I really don't know how far back the history goes of it being on the same day. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's one of those things where they would just have to do it because they would have to. You can't run a game at 4 o'clock. It doesn't happen. It'd have to be 2 separate days. There's a plan in place because of the percentage chance.
Could you guys imagine the flights to LA that week?
It would
Oh,
be a nightmare. It would really be like,
Hotel prices and flights in LA that week. Oh my
that's
lord.
like, over 120,000 people kind of in one area, maybe more. I mean, that's a zoo.
and the 405 would just not move.
Yeah,
It
that would be a
already doesn't.
nightmare.
Yeah, they would like go. Cars would have to go backwards.
But yeah, all three around the horn here. We'll keep it rolling. Brian, you on board with the Eagles winning? I think Jack thinks they're going to win. I obviously am on board. What are your thoughts here, Brian, as the Giants super fan?
I like a little crazy bet here. It's Eagles -9.5. and then
Really?
the smaller Packers money line. I don't think there's any world where the Eagles win this game close. If they lose this game, they're gonna lose. Like the
Why?
Eagles are either gonna I don't know. I just
Okay.
think they're either gonna blow out the Packers or the Packers are gonna somehow pull out a win.
Pull out like a 1-point win.
Yeah. I don't see this game being close unless the Packers win. And I don't think the Packers are gonna win.
Yeah, we haven't gotten a lot of anti-Eagle parlays. I guess it's tough when the team wins 14 games, but yeah, that seems to be in the trash can or put on the sidelines for now. But yeah,
It's retired. It might have to come out of retirement depending on how these playoffs go, but it is retired for now.
fair enough. And we all know things come out of retirement. But Eagles, hopefully Sunday at home, 425, prime time. You got to get the win. You got to get the win. Get on to the divisional round. You're the number 2 seed in the NFC for a reason. Don't let the Packers spoil your party. We'll jump on here to the team that hopefully the Eagles will play the winner of, and that's the Commanders at the Bucs. Commanders plus 3.5. I don't know that I love it against Baker Mayfield. This is, I think, the hardest game to pick of the weekend.
Yeah, this one's tough. Baker's 2-0 in the wild card round. And one of those wins was with the Cleveland Browns. So that should be
Yep.
worth like 5 wins alone. But I don't think I'm ready for Jaden Daniels and the Commanders to this magical ride of a season to end. I'm just gonna take the Commanders.
Look, I will go on record for I don't even know what 10th, 15th, 30th time it is now, but I will go on record and yet again doubt Jaden Daniels. I didn't think he was winning the Heisman. I didn't think he was winning Rookie of the Year. Didn't think he was going to be all that successful in the NFL. Here he is in a playoff game. He is not going into Tampa and beating the Bucs. Baker is playing good football right now. That offense is absolutely humming. The Commanders are not going to have the defense to stop them. I think the Bucs win this game, high scoring.
Yeah, I think the Bucs win this game as well. I won't throw out the money line or take the spread, but I do think they get it done. I'm going with Mike Evans to get in the end zone. Give me Mike Evans anytime. I don't think he got it on the last day of the season. It's playoff Mike Evans. I think he gets 6 here.
That's the Lattimore matchup, right, Bry?
Yep. Lattimore is practicing. He'll be playing too.
And Mike Evans dominates that matchup.
Well, last time in the playoffs, it was 1 catch for 3 yards and a touchdown. So I guess you could call that a draw. Because he got the touchdown, but he held on to 1 catch.
We only need the touchdown here.
Yeah, for Matt's sake, that's a dub.
That would be a dub. The final game of the weekend doesn't even come on the weekend. Monday night playoff matchup. This will be Buck and Aikman. Yeah, Rams or Vikings favored on the road. Look, I like what the Vikings have done. They put up a big dub on Sunday Night Football for the number 1 seed to force, a flight out to LA and have to play this road game. I like McVay in the playoffs. I think they're relatively healthy or healthy enough to where McVay will be able to wheel and deal. I'll take the Rams plus 1.5.
Yeah, you mentioned McVay in the playoffs. He's 7-4 in the playoffs, but he's 1-3 in the years the Rams didn't make it to the Super Bowl. And I don't think this Rams team is good enough to make it to the Super Bowl. And that one win came in 2020 when Kevin O'Connell was his offensive coordinator. Kevin O'Connell's going to get the best of him this year.
Yeah, I still like McVay.
Yeah, I'm also gonna go with McVay and the Rams here at home. Not that the home field advantage is any advantage here. Vikings are. I think they travel pretty well as a fan base, but I'm going to go back to the well. I just said it with Jaden Daniels. I'm not trusting Sam Darnold to win playoff football games. I'm not doing it, especially against a man like Matt Stafford. It's just you can't get me to do it. Give me Stafford. Give me Puka, Cup. I mean, these guys have been there before. Let me see that again.
Hey, and not for nothing, the Rams played in LA before they went to St. Louis. They have a core fan base there. I went and saw them play the Jets at MetLife Stadium. They had the entire Rams sideline packed out. So the Rams travel really well, this game being at home. I think the Rams faithful is going to show out in big numbers. Sure, the Vikings might travel well, but this stadium's going to be loud for the Rams.
Yeah.
You'll see. I mean, you don't
I
have to
think I
believe me.
think this
You'll
is
see.
Matt. You said that what did you say? The Bucs Commanders game was probably the toughest one for you to pick. I think this is the toughest one for me to pick. I think this is going to be a very good game. Absolute chess match between McVay and O'Connell, and I'm going to go with the experience and the guys who have been there before and done it. I believe in the Rams.
Yeah, I know why they put it in prime time, but I wish this was the 1 o'clock game on Sunday. And just
Really,
had
I was just about to say that I love that it's in the Monday night slot. I think this is a perfect Monday night game.
I like it in prime time, but I like the Vikings, Rams, Packers, Eagles, Commanders, Bucks would have been a great Sunday of football. And I could
I'm
not avoid the Monday night game, but it's just like, oh, it's on. The Bills are going to win. I don't
sorry.
know.
Is this Commanders Bucks game the Sunday night game?
Yeah, Trump
Yeah.
tweeted he liked watching Jaden Daniels, so they put it on Sunday night.
Is that like a joke or
Well, the two things are both true. I don't know if they're
correlated?
yeah, they're correlated, but they both happen.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
pretty
I'm
wild. surprised
that that's the Sunday night game.
I really think it's Jaden Daniels.
Look, they still have a couple more weekends of playoff football to get it right. A lot of games this weekend. It can't be perfect, right? They're not going to get it perfect, but I think they did a solid job with
Yeah.
with mapping these games out.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I just if I made the schedule, I would have put this game at 1 o'clock on Sunday.
The more I look at this, I actually agree with this scheduling. I do.
Actually,
Yeah.
well,
Because what game would you rather have on Monday night, Brian?
well, it couldn't be 1 o'clock. No, I think about it because it's fucking Pacific time. Yeah, so it's gonna be light out for this. It's in a dome, so it doesn't really matter. It won't piss me off, but
Right, but it can't be at 10 o'clock in the morning.
yeah, they could have put. I guess I'll go through it real quick.
That
What would I
just
put
totally
on Monday?
collapsed on your face.
If
That
I
whole
were
thing. Play the Rams at home at 1 o'clock.
my perfect scenario,
I feel
for
dumb
these
for not
games-
even calling you out for that.
My perfect scenario for these games would have been Broncos and Bills in the 4 p.m. Saturday, and then I guess keep the Chargers Texans 8 p.m. Saturday and move Steelers Ravens to Monday night, and then have Eagles Packers at 1 p.m. on Sunday, and the Rams game at 4 p.m. on Sunday.
Can't get behind that. Steelers Ravens on Monday night. No.
I didn't even listen to a word. I could not follow that.
That's probably a good
I'm
call.
cool. I'm cool with the way they got it set up right now. I'll live with it for now. I'm glad Brian's not making the schedule because we'd have West Coast games at 10 o'clock. But that's what we got for the Super Wild Card weekend here in the NFL this weekend. Make sure you tail some bets. Yeah, I'm pretty pumped up. I can't wait. We'll have definitely some social media activity going on. I usually fire off a lot of tweets on Saturdays when I'm sitting on my couch watching sports. So stay tuned for the Saturday fire-offs. But that's the wild card round, man. Go Eagles. I'm the only one that has a team in it, so stay tuned for the playoff content from yours truly.
I can't believe that you guys didn't call me out for going chalk on this. I have all the chalk.
It's hard not to be on Wild Card weekend.
The only upset I have is the Chargers over the Texans. And it's not even a betting upset. It's just a seeding upset.
The only thing I have is Steelers plus 10. I mean, maybe if I'm drunk, I'll take them outright, but Steelers plus 10 is where like Brian said, it's, pretty much where you got to go here.
Well, the Rams are an upset.
Yeah, the Rams are an upset.
According to the line.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. Seeding wise, they're a 4 seed.
Yeah. I mean, the only seeding upset, I guess the Chargers would be. The Chargers and then the Commanders will be the popular ones. Everything else, it's like, why would you pick? I guess maybe the Packers. But we know ball.
Yeah, I guess we know ball. But like I said, that is the wild card weekend. Are we wrapping it up here? Or are we doing a mic of the week here?
There's a guy named Dr. Bradley on Arkansas Pine Bluff that's averaging 30 points and 0 assists.
I was going to say, I'll just moderate this segment. Jack, what do you got?
I got a question for you guys. It's a fun little game for you guys.
I like the questions. Brian likes the games.
Here we go. Let's enjoy this one. And for everybody listening, let me see if maybe you can get it before these guys can. There are only 2 quarterbacks in these playoffs who won a playoff game their rookie year. Who are they?
Hold on, repeat the question before Brian starts blaring shit out.
2 quarterbacks in these playoffs who won a playoff game in their rookie year.
In these playoffs?
One is C.J. Stroud.
Yes. And the reason I'm bringing this up is we have Bo Nix here and we have Jaden Daniels, 2 rookies making their playoff debut. Fuck you, Brian.
Did I get it?
I was just about to say Russell Wilson before he blurted that out.
Couldn't even get my sentence off, but yes, it is C.J. Stroud and Russell Wilson.
Yeah, C.J. Stroud, I just completely slipped my mind. I was about to say Russell Wilson because I was like, oh wait, no, Lamar Jackson. That was what he was known for, being a choke artist in the playoffs. So it wasn't him. And then I was but God forbid, impatient Brian over there can let anybody else have a chance.
Well, they're gonna be quicker.
So I mean, this is kind of an obvious question, follow-up question, but between Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels, who do you think is more likely to get that win this year?
I mean, Jaden Daniels plays an easier opponent, you can say, in the Buccaneers. The spread certainly indicates that. You have +3.5 versus, +8.5 for the Broncos Bills game. I'd like to see Bo Nix get it done. I'm all in on the Bo trade, but I think Jaden Daniels has the easier shot.
What Matt said.
Really? You're all in on the Bo trade?
I like Bo Nix. I get reminded of our stupid Bo Nix sucks clip every day on TikTok because we get some new comment on it about how we don't know ball.
What is the Bo Nix sucks clip? Did I say that?
Where I said I liked Marvin Mims, and you guys made fun of me for saying I liked Marvin Mims.
Oh, yeah.
That's a classic.
That is a classic one. And then what? He had 2 or 3 touchdowns on
he's
that.
Been doing well.
Yeah, he's been balling.
He's clearly helping the SEO on that clip because people are searching Marvin Mims.
His season is over, Brian, as well as this podcast. I think that's all we have for this one. It was a long one. It's Views After Dark, if you couldn't tell. We're recorded late. We have some personal life issues. Not issues. Personal life things. It's been a long day, man. It's fine. It's after 10 o'clock. It's Section 400 After Dark. Villanova with a big win. That's all I got. I'm Matt, Jack and Brian. As always, Section 400. I'll see you guys in the next one. Go Birds!
Lito's Pizza. No one likes to eat pizza in squares. Make it a triangle.
Tennessee finally lost. Put Auburn at 1.
War Eagle.
War Eagle.